Okay, guys, Early Republic Part 2. Again, I'm going to suggest that you watch both Part 1 and Part 2 before we go back to school on Monday. I think this will seriously help you guys. I definitely want you to comment. I want you to let me know how it's going. So we're going to start tonight with the Treaty of Greenville. Now, the Treaty of Greenville was between the Native Americans and the United States. American settlers were gradually pushing the Native Americans out of the Northwest Territory. So a group of them banded together and were trying to fight American expansion. Of course, they weren't going to win, unfortunately. So in 1795, they signed a treaty basically giving the Northwest Territory to the United States. Next, we're going to go to the French Revolution. In 1789, the French Revolution began. It ended up turning very bloody and violent, and it became known as the Reign of Terror. Yes, that is a person's head that he is holding in his hand. The favorite way of execution during this time period of basically the royal class was to cut off their head and show it to everybody else. So as a result, war eventually broke out between France and the other European countries. They were not, Europe in general was not in support of such a bloody revolution. They didn't mind a revolution, but they were not in support of it being so bloody. Now, Jefferson wanted to back France. He wanted to back France because they had backed us in our revolution. Hamilton, however, wanted to back England because they were a bigger trading partner. So, April 22nd of 1793, Washington issues what's called the Neutrality Proclamation. He declares that Americans would not fight on either side of the war. As a result of this, Jefferson actually resigns as the Secretary of State. Now, during this time period, the British start doing what's called impressment. Impressment is basically the kidnapping of American sailors and forcing them to fight alongside the British against the French. Now, Washington is going to send Chief Justice John Jay, because remember, Jefferson had resigned. So he asked John Jay to go to Britain and negotiate some kind of treaty that would stop the impressment of American sailors. So in 1795, Jay's treaty was ratified. What this treaty did is the British pay for the loss of American ships. It improves the trade relationship between America and Britain. British troops have to withdraw from Western outposts in the United States. And it establishes a commission or a group of people to settle any border disputes. In 1796, Washington announced that he is not going to run for a third term. In his farewell address, he actually warns against the formation of political parties. He feels that this is going to divide the country. The constant arguments between Jefferson and Hamilton and their different viewpoints, though, actually result in the development of the first political parties. So the election in 1796, we're going to have two political parties against each other. One party is called the Democratic Republican Party. Yes, believe it or not, Democratic Republican was one group at one time. The second group is called the Federalist Party. Okay, the Democratic Republican Party, this was the party of Thomas Jefferson. They had a strict view of the Constitution. They were favored by smaller farmers. They were favored in the South, and they were in support of the French and the French Revolution. The other party is the Federalist Party. This is the party of Alexander Hamilton. They believe in a strong central government, a loose view of the Constitution. They're favored by traders and merchants, and mainly in New England. So the election of 1796. For the Democratic Republicans, we have Thomas Jefferson running for president with Aaron Burr as his VP. For the Federalist Party, we have John Adams running as president. He had been the vice president under Washington, and Charles Pinckney for the VP. At this time, the way the election was decided is the person with the most votes gets president. That's kind of a duh. That's still today. So the president ended up being John Adams. Now, the vice president with the next amount of votes ends up being Thomas Jefferson. So for 1796, we end up with a president and a vice president from two totally different political parties. This is actually going to end up causing quite a few issues. Okay, guys, here go the notes. Just to recap, Treaty of Greenville. Native Americans in the Northwest Territory united to fight American expansion. The treaty gave Indian land in the West to the United States. The Neutrality Proclamation. Americans would not fight on either side of the French Revolution. Impressment is American soldiers were kidnapped by the British and forced to fight on their side. John Jay goes to negotiate this. Jay's treaty, the British pay for the loss of American ships. It improves trade with Britain. They withdraw British troops from Western outposts in the U.S., and it established commissions to settle border disputes. Washington's farewell address warns against the formation of political parties, but we end up with the election of 1796 having just that, 2 political parties. The first one is the Democratic Republican Party. This is Jefferson with a strict view of the Constitution. It's favored by small farmers, they support the French, and it's favored in the South. The Federalist Party is Alexander Hamilton. This is a strong central government, a loose view of the Constitution, favored with traders and merchants, and favored in New England. Election of 1796, Democratic Republicans choose Jefferson for president and Aaron Burr for VP. Federalists, John Adams for president and Charles Pinckney for VP. Adams ends up with the presidency and Jefferson is the vice president. This is 2 totally different political parties. So your review questions. Number 1, why did we not support the French in their revolution? And 2, what did Washington warn against in his farewell address? Okay, guys, see you soon. Oh, thumbs up it, like it, share it, subscribe, all that good jazz.